Chapter 1, Unknown Number. The first phone rang in Paris at 8:14 local time. Marin Duval stood beneath the glass vault of the Gare de Lyon, suitcase wheels rattling over tile as the board clacked out delays. Her phone buzzed in the pocket of her trench. Unknown caller. She let it thrum against her palm and finally fade, telling herself it was a robocall, a missed meeting, a wrong number that would fall off the edge of the world if she ignored it hard enough. The second buzz was a text from her mother about lunch on Sunday. Life resumed its ordinary rhythms. She lifted her suitcase onto the platform and disappeared into the train's bright mouth. The second phone rang in Chicago at 1:17 Central. Dante Ruiz, night custodian at the Harold Washington Library, had a floor buffer purring like a docile animal and a podcast chattering in his ear about the Bulls. When the phone in his hoodie pocket flashed unknown, he gave it the same shrug he gave spam and scams and the ex who still forgot the time difference. He palmed, declined, and leaned into the arc of clean floor, the scent of lemon and old paper filling the cavern of the stacks. The third phone rang in Washington State at 23:18 Pacific. Agnes Brewer woke to it, blinking into the soft blue of her digital clock. 11:18, another of those numbers that made her think of church. The phones had been misbehaving all week. Telemarketers, fundraisers, a wrong number with a kind voice that asked for Henry like he might walk back in from the shed with dirt in his boots. She eased upright, the house settling around her, rain fretting the eaves. "Hello?" she said, one hand pressed to her chest as if to catch her breath there. Silence, not the coy hush of a prank caller. Something deeper, a blank that absorbed sound. "Hello?" she said again, louder this time. "Listen, it's late." A breath? Or the way her own voice came back from the empty line. "Who is this?" she asked, because she had lived a long time and knew the power of naming. No answer came. Agnes waited, counted to 5 the way she had with children in storms, and then gently hung up. Across the country, in Pittsburgh, a column of white light climbed the night and turned to orange. It began down in the cracked seam under a sidewalk grate, heat and pressure finding a narrow throat. A timer married to a wire, married to a battery sealed in plastic. The blast leapt up through the world with a voice like thunder trapped in a pipe. An art fair in Market Square became shrapnel and smoke. Glass left windows as if fleeing. Sound punched the air until the air forgot how to carry it. A boy in a pirate's cap dropped his lemonade. A mother disappeared behind a curtain of dust and then came back into view with a bleeding line at her hairline and the unbroken grip a parent has on a small wrist. Somewhere a street musician's guitar lifted off its strap and spun, then clattered to a stop against a curb. The city inhaled. Sirens woke in layers. First the nearby ones, then the ones that had been waiting to belong to something, then the ones that thought this couldn't be what it was and came anyway. On televisions that were not yet turned on, Chyrons were born in newsrooms. Breaking, explosion in downtown Pittsburgh, in bedrooms that were supposed to have sleep in them. Phones lit faces from below. At 0027 in Arlington, Virginia, the Admiral's Arms had emptied out to the regulars and the late shift. Agent Lucas Jensen sat alone in a booth, back to the wood-paneled wall, hands warming a glass he had no intention of finishing. The bar's TV showed the soundless crawl of urgent news. Aerial shot, a plume, flashing lights, the familiar nausea of red banners. Someone had muted it after the third flash. The bartender, Maureen, flipped rags into a bucket and gave Lucas the look she saved for firefighters and cops and federal kinds. "You're going to stand up any second and go somewhere I can't follow." He already had his credit card out. "Rain check, Mo," he said, and she waved him off like he was a habit. He stepped into the cool night, the kind that coats a city in reflections. Across the street, the 24-hour bodega had taped up a handwritten sign for late coffee. He was reaching for the car door when his phone vibrated against his hip. Private caller. "Jensen," he said, thumb to green before the second buzz. A pocket of silence. "Lucas Jensen," he repeated, swallowing the edge in his tone. He could hear the bar's door swing shut behind him, the distant lick of a siren that didn't belong to this block. "Hello?" he said. "If this is a misdial—" His own name came back at him almost. The sibilance softened, like whisper through fabric. Then a click. The line hung open, empty. Lucas listened for a breath that never arrived. The call ended itself. He pocketed the phone, adrenaline making his hands imprecise, and looked up at the TV through the window, now unmuted because someone had said out loud what the crawl didn't. Explosion, Pittsburgh. possible gas main, or device, the word that made anchors blink too often. He got in the car and turned the radio on because silence had teeth. The first alerts were a mess of half-facts, unconfirmed reports of multiple casualties. Images coming in now show heavy damage in Market Square. Initial statements from the mayor's office urged citizens to avoid downtown. Damned. Department of Homeland Security. Lucas pulled onto Wilson Boulevard, and the city unfolded like a map his hands already knew. His mind began its hard, familiar math, what to look for, who to call, what to say. He dialed a number that lived on his favorites list out of habit and hunger both. "Sarah," he said when she answered, wind in her line. "You seeing this?" "Already in the car," she said. Sarah Rhee, his first call in too many crises. "Pittsburgh. It's not infrastructure. Too clean a signature for a busted steam line." "We'll know in an hour," Lucas said, which meant I agree. "NCCIC's got a conference bridge up in 10. You on?" "On," she said. "And Lucas, my phone's been getting weird calls all week. Unknowns, no audio. Could be nothing. Could be people rediscovering landlines." A rueful half laugh. "Tell me I'm being superstitious." Lucas wanted to. "You're being—" he began, but another number slid onto his screen. "Home." He broke off. "Hold," he said to Sarah, then toggled the call. "Hey, hey," said his wife, Leah, in that voice that was a whole house to him when he had one. "You're watching?" "On my way in," he said, the words a groove worn in his tongue. "My phone keeps ringing," she said. "Unknown. It's done it twice tonight. I keep hitting decline, and it—" She trailed off. "It's probably nothing." "Maybe block the number," he said, watching the road, the light spill of the Key Bridge's reflection in the Black River. "Or let it go." "It's not a number," she said, and he could hear her moving through their kitchen toward the window. He pictured the plant in the sill, the way the light carved her cheek. "It just says unknown. And when I pick up, once last night, it was nothing, like the old movies where the line is open and you're listening to the house next door." He wanted to say, "Don't answer it." He wanted to say, "It's spam," or "I'll call the carrier in the morning and have them look," or "My day job is to set myself on fire and tell you everything is cool." He threaded the needle between truth and calm. "Hang up if it happens again," he said. "Let it go to voicemail. I'll call you as soon as I'm briefed." She was quiet. The silence of shared houses, not empty lines. "Be careful," she said at last. "You too," he said, and meant, "Do not answer the door the universe is knocking on." He toggled back to Sarah. "Sorry, Leah's getting them too, the calls." "Unknowns?" Sarah asked. "This week?" "Yeah." "Odd," she said in the very flat way she saved for things that had just entered the perimeter of a problem. "Bridge in 5. "Copy," he said. He took the GW Parkway like the road owed him favors, kissed the edge of a speed he could justify, and let the city's lights flicker past like frames from a film he'd already seen. At 01, 02, the first camera on the ground in Pittsburgh found the right angle. The aerial was for later. This was the shot that got under skin. A woman on the curb, blouse blackened, a streak of blood making a dark hair ribbon down her temple, a firefighter's hand on her shoulder, a cop's hand in the small of her back, guiding her away from something the camera didn't show. The lens panned and caught a stroller tipped like a question. Someone dragged a hose into the frame, the arc of water painting steam on the air. The anchor's voice tried its best not to be human and failed in the exact right places. "Authorities are not yet calling this terrorism. Reports now of at least 17 injured. We have to caution these numbers are fluid." On a split screen, an assistant chief spoke into a handheld. "We're asking people to stay away from downtown. We are working to get an accurate count. We have multiple agencies on scene." In living rooms where people had left their laundry to cool hard in baskets, the couch became a command post. In small hours, kitchens where coffee was not a solution, a nation rewrote its morning. At 01:19, a second burst of raw video hit the feeds. Shaky, vertical, an angle from 3 blocks out, a flash, then the delayed punch of sound. The timestamp set in silence. 23:18, Pacific. The country held those numbers in its throat like a stone. The National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center had the brightness of a place that could not afford shadows. The floor hummed that particular bureaucratic hymn, too many printers, too much purpose. Lucas badged through the scanner and let his body fall into the old roles. The straight back, the zeroed voice, the way he set his hands on a table so that no one could read the thoughts running under the tendons. The screens at the front of the ops floor showed Pittsburgh looping itself into history. Data scrolled under it like captions for people who didn't like captions, cell site loads, social media heat maps, rumor graphs, and how to starve them. Names slid onto a participant list. Half of them were acronyms, the rest were people whose calls woke people. "Jensen," said a voice to his left, and there was Director Patel, tie already loosened, eyes doing math. "We're calling this incident P Alpha for now. I want you on the cross with DHS and FBI. If this is a one-off, we'll be asleep by dawn. If it's not, we won't sleep." "Understood," Lucas said, hyphenating his words the way he did when the next hours needed it. He slid into a seat at the bridge and let the briefing stack. Bomb squad preliminary, ATF pattern talk, the mayor's office, a voice from a hospital doing the fast calm of triage. Sarah's square lit up from her car. She was already toggling windows by the time her video came live. "This wasn't a gas main," she said flat. "Blast seat and damage footprint say device." "Single?" asked a face Lucas didn't recognize. "Or too early," Sarah said, which meant she had an opinion and immune system against guessing. Lucas's phone vibrated once against the table leg. He didn't have to look. Unknown. He felt the pattern of the night build itself using old bones. Calls from nowhere. Silence that had intention. A bomb where the call ended. "No," he corrected himself with a surgeon's caution. "A bomb after a call ended. Correlation, not yet. Because, on the screen, a second Chiron slid under the first. Potential terror incident under investigation. Somewhere a producer had pressed a button they'd been looking at for 9 minutes. Lucas picked up the phone because he believed in his own limits. He was not superstitious, and he did not ignore patterns in the wild. He thumbed Talia's thread and typed, "Let it ring. Don't answer unknown. Text me if it happens again." The bubble turned blue. Delivered. He stared at the single word a fraction of a second longer than the bridge allowed and put the phone face down. He looked up at the wall. Pittsburgh kept happening, one frame changed by the next. "Lucas," Patel said quietly, "what are you not saying?" He didn't think about it. He never had the luxury. "We've had reports, my wife Rhee, of silent calls. Unknown numbers. Happens, yes. But this? If the public starts reporting a spike, we chase carriers, we look at switching anomalies, we check for any common routing. Phones?" someone said. "We're not doing the phones because..." "No," Lucas said. "Phones don't cause bombs. But phones move signals. And if someone is mapping behavior, who picks up, who doesn't, if someone is testing how long a line stays live..." He stopped. Even in his own mouth, the idea tasted absurd and dangerous. "Just log the calls," he said. "Ask the carriers for anonymized spikes on silent unknowns. If it's nothing, we'll laugh in 2 hours. If it's not..." Sarah's video square tipped a fraction, her head turning like she just remembered where she'd left her keys. "I've been getting them," she said softer. "My neighbor, too. Let's not laugh." "Done," Patel said, writing a line on his pad that would be a tasking. "Jensen, you own that line of inquiry." The bridge hummed on. The city on the screen tried to put itself back together in the way cities do. Hoses, tape, perimeter. The tally at the bottom ticked up. Injured, 24. The word fatalities had not yet decided whether to arrive. Lucas felt the night roll forward, both slow and fast. He sipped the coffee someone had conjured next to his elbow. He listened to the voices that were going to be his world until the sun lied to them. He pushed down the clean, simple desire to call Leah again and hear her breathe, because that was not for now, and pressed the door in his chest that led to the work. He believed in puzzles, and in the ugly mercy of solving them. He believed the world could be unwound by hands if you kept them steady. He believed, fiercely, that coincidence didn't get to write stories like this by itself. On the screen, a reporter tried to keep hair out of her eyes and failed, and the wind did what wind does, moved everything it could. At 02:31 Central, the same unknown number called Dante Ruiz for the second time that night as he locked the library. He watched it ring to the end, thumb hovering over decline and then settling for nothing. The glass doors closed on his reflection. Behind him, the stacks lay quiet as sleeping streets. 3 blocks away, someone else answered their phone on the second ring and said hello twice before hanging up. At 02:37, a second explosion rolled the South Loop like thunder, arriving early. Chicago's cameras learned the shape again. Smoke between glass, people running away with that guilty look people get when they have outrun something that might have wanted to keep them. TV Chirons didn't need to be rewritten. They added a city name. Sirens took up the two-tone call and response that binds a nation. "We are coming." Lucas watched the new feed pop into a window next to Pittsburgh's. He reached for the tasking pad and underlined his own name on the call spike line so hard the paper dented. His phone vibrated face down against the table. He didn't pick it up. He didn't have to. He knew what it would say. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss book 2. Stay tuned.